Alright, so I'm going to be reviewing a fragrance that's been out for a while that I've been wanting to try. Just haven't got around to it, mainly because it's not cheap. I believe retails for about $265, and it is from M. Micallef, I don't know how you pronounce his name. It is a niche company. The fragrance is called Desir Toxic. It's a note of parfum concentration. I just got a decant of it because, again, it's pretty pricey. But it's something I've been wanting to check out. Some people had said it smells similar to Leighton. It is not listed in Fragrante as far as similarities go. I do not believe Leighton is in there. No, there's some opiums on there by YSL, Dracar, Noir is on there. So, but I have heard some people say it smells similar to Leighton. The notes is bergamot and cardamom and lemon in the top, blackcurrant, cannabis, tonka bean, and cinnamon in the mid, and then oak moss, benzoin, musk, and patchouli in the base. It doesn't get too much love on Fragrantica. It's got, I think, a 3.85 or 3.8 out of 5. So not the greatest score, and I can see why if people are saying on there it smells like Dracar Noir or a YSL Opium, because neither of those are certainly things that, fragrances at least that should cost $285, regardless of what you think of them personally as far as the scent profile goes. Anyway, interested to see what this smells like. Again, it's got an interesting cannabis note. I wonder if it's even something you really pick up on. It does have cardamom. It's got lavender, so I could see where potentially it could smell. Or it doesn't have lavender. Never mind. I'm sorry. Cardamom, bergamot, lemon. I don't really see where the latent similarities would even come in at all. Again, there was just some YouTube reviewers that said it smells similar to Leighton. I don't know, how based on the notes, but I have had fragrances that the notes are not indicative about as far as how they smell for whatever reason, whether that be that the notes weren't actually representative of what's in the fragrance, or just how they work together. I've been surprised, pretty substantially surprised sometimes. So anyway, let's just see what this smells like. Again, curious on it. Didn't want to commit to a $285 bottle, so I picked up a decant. Ooh. Oh, so I'm getting in the air, and I kind of am in the air. I was getting the Leighton vibe. It's that spicy kind of vanilla. So the tonka bean comes off similar to vanilla. It's got the sweetness to it. That I could see why there's also a spicy kick behind it. And the cardamom and the tonka bean are coming off kind of, again, like vanilla. There is this kind of herbal component to it, which is the cannabis. I don't know that it's pretty strong in the sense that you could definitely pick it up. It's not overpowering. It's not necessarily off-putting, but I think I could have done without it. I think just having the oak moss in there would have been enough to give it kind of that herbal, touch without the cannabis note. I think cannabis is a very divisive note. I think some people really enjoy it, and other people are completely put off by it. I think a safer bet, since there was already oak moss in this, and patchouli would have been just to kind of keep those in and, not add in the cannabis note. Now, that said, it certainly makes it more unique, but to me, it is kind of it's ruining the scent profile to me. Again, the tonka bean is there, the cardamom is there. You get slight citrus opening, similar to like you would with Leighton with the apple. It's this little touch. It's not fresh, but it gets this kind of, it's not bright as far as like a freshy. It's got this little freshness to it, though, like Leighton does. Fresh, sweet, spicy fragrance. But again, that cannabis note is certainly adding an herbal component to it that is slightly off-putting to me. I think it would prevent this from being super mass appealing. Yeah, it's very prominent, even more so almost to a degree than the tonka bean. The tonka bean is there. To anybody who is familiar with tonka bean fragrances, you immediately pick it up. There's tonka bean a lot of times the standout note when it is in fragrances. The whole Armani code line is built around tonka bean as its most prominent note, regardless of which flanker you get. Tonka bean is there front and center. A lot of fragrances with tonka bean in it. It seems to stand out. It seems to kind of take the show as far as the scent profile goes. Certainly doing that here, but there's this kind of pungent cannabis note that is also, there right by it, almost competing with it. As it dries down more and more, to me, it's getting less and less appealing. The initial spray, picking it up in the air, picking it up, before smelling the test strip, smelled more along the lines of Leighton. You had that kind of spicy, sweet, almost vanilla-ish opening with the cardamom and the tonka bean. That was very appealing. But as soon as you smell it on the tester strip, you get a lot of that cannabis. And as it's drying down, it's becoming more and more prominent. You're having the patchouli and the cannabis. It's giving this not extremely, but much more herbal component, much more, herbaceous sort of vibe than Leighton or anything in that line. This is certainly more herbal than, Armani Code or anything like that. I could see people liking this. This is not going to be mass appealing. Again, I think the cannabis note ruins it as far as mass appeal goes. It's unique. I give them props for doing it. I give them props for kind of going outside the box and trying something different. But, along with that comes the possibility that it's not going to work, or in the very least, it's not going to be mass appealing. And that's what you get here. This isn't like a horrible cannabis note. It doesn't smell like skunk weed or, somebody who's hotboxing in a car. It smells like you actually smelled cannabis, like fresh cannabis, not smoked. That's what you're getting. It's that leafy green component, but it does smell like cannabis, and it's very prominent. As it dries down, it might start to fade. The sweetness is already fading, but if I were to guess, I think if anything, it might just stand out more. You're going to be getting more of that oak moss and the patchouli that's going to be backing it. I think it's going to really turn into a much more herbal, green style fragrance as it dries down, which kind of, in my opinion, isn't a good thing. I think the opening, especially in the air, was the most appealing part about this so far. And I think it's only going to develop into something that is going to be more divisive. Yeah, so I'm glad I tried it. I understand why it's got a 3.85 on Fragrantica. I would not buy this, especially for the price point that it's being sold at. Not a bad fragrance. Doesn't smell cheap. Doesn't smell synthetic. It's well blended. It's not for me. Certainly not mass appealing. Yeah. So that's it. I don't know how it's going to dry down. I will update you all. I will also update you all, wear it on the skin. Give it a full wearing, let you know how it smells on the skin as well. But these are just my first impressions. Rating-wise, I would give this, for my personal taste, a 6 maybe. Because I don't see myself wearing this. As a fragrance, taking my personal taste out as much as I can. A 7 for uniqueness. And, it does do a lot of things well. It smells well blended. It smells very natural. And it's unique to a degree. But, again, I don't think it's very mass appealing. And I think the cannabis note just sort of kind of ruined what would otherwise be a very appealing fragrance. Even if you could take the same scent profile, omit the cannabis note, and this would be a really good fragrance. Again, I think the oak moss and patchouli and those would give enough of a green component to this without pushing it over the edge, and unfortunately, that's not what we have here. So anyway, it's my first impressions on Desir Toxic Eau de Parfum. I will wear it, and I'll give you an update on longevity, performance, as well as how it wears on the skin.